There is a single mistake that can destroy all of your power before it even has a chance to form. A small error, but enough to make others look down on you, ignore you, and treat you as if you're not worth paying attention to. And this is a truth that very few people say out loud. That mistake has nothing to do with your intelligence, your skills, or your potential. The problem lies here. You look poor. I'm not talking about the amount of money in your bank account or the number on your balance. I'm talking about your appearance, the impression you create, and the signals you unconsciously send out every time you walk into a room. Machiavelli would tell you that power is born from perception. If you look poor, act poor, and carry the demeanor of someone who has nothing, people will believe that you truly are nothing. And once they believe that, you've basically lost the game immediately. Think about it. Throughout history, every society has classified people based on what they see on the outside. In ancient courts, the clothes you wore could decide whether you were valued or treated as invisible. Today is no different, only the symbols have changed. If you look like you don't respect yourself, no one has a reason to respect you. Most people misunderstand this point. They think that just working hard is enough, that one day they will be able to prove their worth through effort, intelligence, and kindness. But here is the truth from Machiavelli's way of seeing the world. Life doesn't wait for you to shine. People judge each other in just a few seconds. They don't ask about your story and don't care what you've been through. They look at you and instantly decide whether you deserve their respect or not. And if you look poor, even if inside you are rich in experience, talent, or character, no one will see you as anything. This is the common reaction of those who feel invisible. They try to explain. They talk too much. They tell their whole life story just hoping others will recognize their value. But the more they talk, the more desperate they look. And that desperation always smells like poverty. The principle is this: never let yourself look poor, even when you truly are poor. Don't give the world a chance to put you in the category of weak or desperate. Power doesn't lie in how much you actually have, but in making others believe that you already have enough. Why does this work? Human psychology is very simple. We are programmed to move toward strength and avoid weakness. When someone looks like they are struggling with life, our instinct is to stay away. When someone looks like they already have everything, we are naturally drawn to them because in our minds we believe they might be able to bring us even more. Think about dating. If you show up without any preparation, your partner will assume that even you don't value yourself. If you don't value yourself, why should they? In business, it's the same. When you walk into a meeting looking sloppy, tired, or cheap, no one will believe you are capable of managing money, even if you're actually brilliant. The cost of ignoring this principle is brutal. You may be intelligent, but no one will listen. You may be hardworking, but you will never be chosen. You might even be wealthy. But if you look poor, people will still treat you like you're poor. And once that perception is formed, it is almost impossible to break. But there is another way. Instead of begging for respect, you make people willingly give it to you without a single word. You do that by mastering your presence. You dress in a way that radiates neatness and sharpness. You stand straight even when your pockets are empty. You speak calmly, as if you are never in a rush, as if even time itself has to slow down in front of you. You walk as if the room already belongs to you the moment you step in. Machiavelli would tell you, the issue is not the truth, it is the illusion. And it is precisely the illusion of wealth, of power, of stability that makes others bow to you even before they know who you are. So how do you apply this in real life? Start with the smallest things. Never wear clothes that scream desperation. That doesn't mean you have to buy expensive brands. It means your clothes must be clean, well-fitted, and intentional. And train yourself to have a stable voice. The poor shout to be noticed. The powerful only need to speak softly, yet still make the entire room go silent to listen. When you sit, don't fidget. Stillness is a sign of control, and control always gives off a feeling of wealth. Throughout history, many influential merchants and politicians used exactly this method. Many of them were not actually rich, but their calm demeanor and control in every gesture made others believe they possessed great power. They walked slowly, spoke gently, and kept a quiet confidence. That calm alone was enough to create the illusion of wealth, an image so powerful that it made people trust them, changed the outcome of negotiations, and opened doors of opportunity long before their true status was known. Pay attention to how people react when you refuse to show up like a poor person. They immediately treat you differently. The server takes more care of you. Strangers give you more respect. Even enemies hesitate because they can't guess what you actually hold in your hands. That is the power of perception. And once you master this basic level, you can move to a higher one. Sometimes you don't just need to show that you're not poor. You need to create the feeling that you are untouchable. This means disappearing at the right moment. Imagine this. You show up strong, well-dressed, calm, and in control, and then you vanish. You don't try to get attention. You don't stay too long. You leave, and you leave behind a question in everyone's mind. Who was that person? That mystery multiplies the value they perceive in you, and this is the final stage of the game. When you never let yourself look poor, even if you actually are poor, you create a shield around your life. People may look down on others, but they won't dare look down on you. They may try to exploit the weaknesses of others, but not yours. They may gossip about those who are struggling, but when they mention you, their voice drops with a sense of respect. They believe you possess something, even if in reality you have nothing. And that belief itself is the first layer of power you build. Always remember this. The world doesn't reward you for honestly telling your hardships. It rewards the illusion of strength. Machiavelli's lesson is very clear. Never let yourself look weak or poor, even if you truly are. Because once people label you as weak, the game is over before you even begin. Next time you step out into the world, don't ask, "What do I really have?" Ask, "What do they think I have?" With just that one change in question, invisibility can turn into influence. And here is your challenge. Next time you leave the house, practice carrying the aura of someone who is already strong. Not arrogant, not showy, but calm, sharp, and self-controlled. Watch how people look at you differently. That's not magic. That's the reality Machiavelli understood long ago. This world is inherently unfair. To put it bluntly, most people will never see your true self. They only see the mask you wear. And if the mask you choose is poverty, weakness, or insecurity, then that will be your entire image in their eyes. That's why Machiavelli always warned leaders never to let themselves appear weak. Power is built from symbols, and sometimes symbols echo louder than words. Think of the most powerful people in history. Were they always rich? No. Many of them started with nothing. But they understood one truth. Power is a stage, and appearance is the backdrop. Julius Caesar, before becoming the ruler of Rome, always dressed as if fate had already chosen him for greatness. His enemies mocked him, saying he was too well-dressed, too proud. But the interesting thing is, the people admired that. They saw confidence, not desperation, and that admiration gave him momentum to rise. So let's break this idea down to its core. When you look poor, you are telling the world that you lack control, and control is the currency that buys respect. If you walk into a room looking messy and lost, people will assume you have lost control of your life. They stop listening, stop following, and move on to the next person who looks like they know what they're doing. But here's the important point. Not looking poor does not mean pretending to be someone else. It doesn't mean flaunting money or inventing fake achievements. That's the mistake many people make when they hear this principle. They rush to buy designer clothes, expensive watches, or cars beyond their means. But that's not power. That's just insecurity in a fancy outfit. Real power is subtle. It isn't about shouting to prove your worth. It's about making others feel your worth without a word. Look at a man walking into a room in a clean, fitted, well-put-together outfit. Nothing luxurious, but everything sharp. He moves calmly, not rushing, not stumbling over his words. His posture is straight, his eyes steady. He speaks little, but each sentence carries weight. Do you see what happens? People automatically assume he has more than he shows. They don't think poor. They think disciplined, controlled, maybe even dangerous. That illusion alone is worth more than 1,000 explanations of your value. Now, let's go deeper into psychology. Humans are programmed to rank each other. That process happens automatically in the very first seconds we see someone. The way they dress, the way they walk, how they hold their body, all of it is instantly fed into an invisible calculation. And if you look poor, the brain puts you in a low-status group. Once that imprint is made, erasing it is nearly impossible. The tragic result is that opportunities start slipping away. The deal you've been hoping for disappears because they don't believe you can handle money. The relationship you want to build falls apart because they think you lack self-respect. The door to the network you want to enter slams shut because they believe you don't belong there. And all because of one thing: you look poor. Let's be honest. The world doesn't give you a second chance to make a first impression. You can be smart, kind, and talented, but if you show up looking poor, you may never get the chance to prove any of that. Now look at the path Machiavelli suggests. You create an image strong enough to protect you. You understand that a poor appearance attracts predators, while calm and composure make them back off. Machiavelli once wrote, "If you must choose, it is better to be feared than loved." The modern version of that is, if you cannot be both strong and genuine, then at least be strong in appearance. So how do you build that powerful image? You don't need millions of dollars. You need discipline. You need to care about the details others ignore. First is clothing. Poor people wear clothes that make them look worse. Strong people wear clothes they own, not in price, but in fit, cleanliness, and sharpness. A cheap suit that fits well earns more respect than an expensive outfit worn sloppily. Second is body language. Bad posture is a public declaration of weakness. Slumped shoulders, restless hands, darting eyes. All of these tell others that you cannot even control yourself. Stand straight, move slowly, make eye contact without aggression. Speak as if silence is your ally, not your enemy. Third is your time. Poor people always seem desperate for attention. They stay too long, talk too much, cling on just to be noticed. Powerful people are different. They know when to show up and when to leave. They never beg the room to notice them. They make the room wonder about them. And when you apply these things, something interesting happens. People start chasing you. They lean towards you. They wonder who you are. And the more mysterious you are, the more powerful you appear. Remember, the goal is not to show everything. The goal is to show just enough to spark curiosity. Watch how people react when you master this skill. In business, they'll assume you can handle more than you actually can. In relationships, they'll see you as someone valuable. In social life, they'll give you respect even before you prove anything. That's not luck. That's the art of controlling perception. Now for the advanced levels. The layers almost no one reaches. Sometimes the secret is not just to look like you're not poor, but to look like you cannot be touched. That requires you to break the usual rhythm. Imagine this. You always show up sharp, calm, and in control. Then one day, you don't show up at all. You disappear. You let people feel the empty space you leave behind. That absence, that silence, is louder than your presence. It makes them realize your value even though you're not doing anything. That is the highest level of power. No need to prove, no need to show off, yet people feel your weight. This is the final stage of mastering not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. When you stop letting yourself look poor, even when you are poor, you send a clear message to your mind. I am bigger than my current circumstances. And that belief pushes you to become a stronger version of yourself. Power begins with illusion. Illusion then shapes reality. So the truth is, if you want power, stop displaying your weaknesses. If you want respect, don't dress like someone who has given up. If you crave influence, don't live as if your time belongs to others. Never let yourself look poor, even if you are truly poor, because once people believe you are poor, every door will slam shut in front of you. But if they believe you are strong, those doors will open on their own, sometimes even before you knock. Next time you walk into a room, remember, the amount of money in your pocket matters less than one thing. What matters is the story your presence is telling. Is it a story of control or a story of poverty? Choose wisely, because the story you create is the story others will believe. Face this truth. People do not treat you based on who you truly are. They treat you based on the version of you they think you are. And if in their eyes you are poor, desperate, or powerless, that is exactly how they will treat you. That is why the principle of never look poor is so important. It doesn't just protect your reputation, it shapes your entire future. Imagine two men walking into the same room. One looks neat, calm, carrying the aura of quiet confidence. The other looks tired, sloppy, and unstable. Without a word spoken, everyone in the room already knows who they want to listen to, who they want to sit next to, and who they want to avoid. That is human nature. We are drawn to strength and avoid weakness. But many people misunderstand this, confusing poverty with humility. They think that looking simple will earn respect for being humble. But here is the truth from a Machiavellian angle. Humility without power is just invisibility. People won't respect you for being humble if you haven't made them respect your strength first. Humility only has value when you already have influence. Before that, looking poor just buries you deeper. Let's go back to psychology. Why are people so afraid of looking poor? Because deep down, everyone knows the world punishes weakness. When you look poor, you unintentionally remind others of their own fears. Fear of losing control, fear of failure, fear of becoming a nobody. And people hate being reminded of those fears, so they push you away. They cut you out of their circles. They avoid you not because they are evil, but because you reflect what they are afraid of becoming. That is why looking poor is so dangerous. It doesn't just make people doubt you, it makes them start to dislike you. And once dislike enters the room, power disappears. Now let's look at the real-life consequences. A man who looks poor is always the one who gets the worst deal. In business, he is always underpaid. In relationships, he is seen as a temporary option, not someone truly worthy. In society, he is pushed aside, ignored, and underestimated. This is the cold truth Machiavelli understood very clearly. Appearance decides more than substance. But here's the interesting part. Looking powerful does not mean you must be rich. You can be broke and still show up as someone valuable. How? By controlling the signals you send out. Let's break it down. First, control your appearance. You don't need a wardrobe full of luxury brands. What you need is discipline. Cleanliness, neatness, and fit matter far more than price. A man who looks clean and intentional will always be respected more than a man in expensive clothes who looks neglected. Looking poor isn't about lacking money, it's about lacking care. Never let yourself look abandoned. Second, control the energy you give off. Poor energy is desperate, restless, and noisy. Rich energy is calm, focused, and restrained. No matter how nervous you feel inside, on the outside you must show steadiness. When you walk, walk with intention. When you sit, do it deliberately. When you speak, know when to stop. Silence is not your enemy, it is your weapon. Third, control your boundaries. Poor people have no boundaries. They stay too long. They chase validation. They say yes to everything. Powerful people are different. They know how to say no. They know when to leave. They know how to disappear when necessary. That restraint is a sign of control, and control always creates the feeling of wealth. When you master these three elements, you will no longer look poor, even if your wallet is empty. And once you stop looking poor, opportunities start to appear. Why? Because people now believe you are capable. They trust you with more. They respect you more and want to be on your side. Here's a historical example. Napoleon Bonaparte was not born rich. He grew up in an ordinary family, but from a young age, he carried the demeanor of someone born to lead. His posture, his speech, the sharpness in his eyes, all of it created the impression of a man far above his class. That impression made others treat Napoleon as if he already belonged to a higher rank. And that gave him opportunities that most people from his background would never have. Eventually, that illusion became reality. The boy who looked like a leader became the Emperor of France. Here is the deepest lesson. Don't let yourself look poor is not just for survival, it is for transformation. When you train yourself to show up like a powerful person, over time you will actually become powerful because people will treat you that way. And their treatment opens doors that lead to real power. So what about advanced tactics? After you master not looking poor, the next step is to go beyond appearance. You learn the art of absence. Here's the truth. The poor are present everywhere, always available, always within reach. You can find them easily. They constantly beg for attention, constantly need validation. The powerful are rare and hard to access. Their very scarcity increases their value. This is a classic Machiavellian tactic. Don't always be present. Sometimes disappear. Sometimes make people wait for you. Let silence speak for you. That makes you not only look wealthy, but also untouchable. People always crave what is hard to get. Think of diamonds. They are precious because they are rare. Water is everywhere, so people take it for granted. If you are always available, you become like water. Necessary, yes, but unappreciated and forgettable. That is the final outcome you must avoid. If you know how to become scarce, you become like a rare diamond, valuable and desired. At that point, you don't just stop looking poor, you begin to look priceless. You create an aura around you that makes people believe you are greater than you really are. That aura attracts respect, loyalty, and even fear. So next time you go out, ask yourself, what signals am I sending? Do I look like someone out of control or like someone who masters himself even when I own nothing? Just that small shift can change how the world responds to you. Remember, no one really knows what you have. They only know what you show. And if you show poverty, they will treat you as poor. But if you show strength, calm, and control, they will treat you like power itself. Machiavelli's truth is razor sharp. Never let yourself look poor. even when you are poor, because perception builds reputation, and reputation opens opportunities. And opportunity is the fertile ground where power grows. There is a truth most people never dare admit. The world does not reward truth. It rewards performance. You may be struggling in silence, but as long as you radiate strength, the world will bow. You may be talented, but if you are invisible, the world will overlook you. That's why Machiavelli's warning is so sharp. Never let yourself look poor, even when you truly are, because once others believe you are poor, they will bury you under that label and never give you a chance to rise. Now let's dig one layer deeper. Looking poor is not just about clothes or money. It's about the story your presence tells the world. Poverty shows itself in many ways: the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you react under pressure. Poverty is frantic, clingy, and noisy. Power is still. Power is calm. Power does not chase anyone. Power does not explain. But here is the dangerous trap many fall into. They think that exposing their weakness will earn sympathy. They believe that if they show others their struggles, people will pity and help them. But here is the harsh truth. Pity is not respect. Compassion might give you a few crumbs, but it will never give you power. If you want influence, you cannot show up as someone who needs to be rescued. You must appear as someone who has control, no matter how unsure you are inside. That's why people who understand this principle often rise very quickly. They refuse to look desperate. They refuse to beg. They refuse to display their poverty, even when they feel it inside. Instead, they display stability. And stability is what makes others place their trust in them. Trust opens doors, and those doors lead to opportunities that poverty will never see. Think about modern life. A person who looks poor walking into a bank will be questioned, doubted, and sometimes rejected. Another person who looks powerful walking into the same bank will be welcomed, respected, and offered more. Same place, same species, but completely different treatment. Why? Because appearance tells the story before words appear. That is why you must train yourself to never look poor. This is not vanity. It is not arrogance. It is survival. And now, let's sharpen the next tactics. First, master your silence. Poor people talk too much because they think words will save them. Powerful people use silence because they know mystery is more valuable than noise. Speak less. Let others fill the gaps with their imagination. And remember, people tend to imagine you are richer, more powerful, and more in control than you really are. Second, master how you leave. Poor people stay too long. They cling to conversations because they want attention, but the longer they stay, the more desperate they look. Powerful people are different. They know when to end things. They enter with presence and leave with control. They leave others wanting more, wanting to see them again. That desire makes people chase you. Third, master your standards. Poor people accept everything, every offer, every insult, every way of being treated. Powerful people set standards. They refuse what doesn't serve them. They remove what drags them down, quietly, without drama. That quiet refusal creates respect. When you apply these three tactics, you pull yourself out of the desperate crowd. You no longer look poor, you begin to look untouchable. Now, let's address something most people ignore: your environment. Poverty is contagious. If you surround yourself with people who look poor in spirit, you will be dragged down to their level. If you want to rise, you must place yourself where power is present. That doesn't mean you must be rich. It means you must be intentional. Go to places with ambition, effort, and vitality. Stay away from people who have given up on themselves. Because when you surround yourself with strength, you will radiate it more easily. And remember, this is not only about others, it is about you. The way you show up directly affects how you feel about yourself. If you carry the posture of poverty, your mind will think in poor ways. If you carry the posture of power, your mind will think in powerful ways. This is the real genius of this principle. It doesn't just fool others. It resets how you see yourself. Over time, illusion becomes reality. You no longer have to pretend. You gradually become the person you once tried to portray. That is the kind of magic Machiavelli used, using perception to create reality. But there is one final advanced step: the art of being unpredictable. Looking powerful is good. Looking unpredictable is even better. When people cannot categorize you, cannot predict your next move, you gain a strange advantage. They fear offending you. They respect your space, and they never feel safe underestimating you. That unpredictability protects you like an invisible armor. Imagine this. One day you show up with calm power. The next day you vanish completely. Then you return even stronger, sharper, calmer than before. That keeps people constantly guessing, and people always fear what they cannot predict. That is the final level of the art of never looking poor. You don't just look powerful, you look untouchable. You become someone who cannot be categorized or controlled. And in a world obsessed with control, becoming untouchable is the ultimate form of wealth. So let's gather it all. Looking poor kills opportunity. Looking powerful creates opportunity. Looking untouchable makes you unforgettable. And here's the truth. It costs you nothing to maintain a controlled presence. It costs nothing to stand straight, to speak calmly, to dress with intention, to walk with clear purpose. These things are free, but their value is infinite. Never forget, people don't know your bank balance. They don't know what you've endured. They only know the signals you send. If you show weakness, they will treat you as weak. If you show control, they will treat you as power. And if you show mystery, they will never forget you. That is your weapon. That is your shield. Never let yourself look poor, even if you are truly poor. Because the moment you reveal that, the world will lock you inside the cage of poverty. But if you master the art of looking strong, the whole world becomes your stage. So next time you feel ignored or disrespected, stop explaining, stop begging, stop chasing. Instead, remember this. Power doesn't lie in what you own. Power lies in what others believe you own. And if you control that belief, you control everything. Now here is your final challenge. Tomorrow, when you leave the house, don't just dress differently. Carry a different aura. Try this principle. Walk slower, talk less, lift your head higher, radiate calm, radiate control, radiate inner wealth. Even if your pocket is empty, watch how the world around you changes. Observe how people react. That is Machiavelli's hidden truth playing out right before your eyes. Never let yourself look poor, even when you are poor, because perception is power. And when you master perception, you master the entire game.